by doing MBA in Australia, do you also get opportunities all over the world, including New Zealand, US? या फिर you are restricted to only New Zealand and Australia, and much salary you get after?
So hey guys, today it's an honor to introduce Abhishek, who just completed his MBA from the best business school of Australia, that is Melbourne Business School. And Melbourne Business School is not just best in Australia, it is like top 10 business schools all over the world as well. So that's why we'll be talking about why you should choose to do your MBA in Australia versus MBA in the US. But first, this video is brought to you by Skillshare, which is an online learning platform where you can learn tons of resources from video editing to Photoshop to freelancing to leadership and entrepreneurship, which is required to be in the best business school. So that's why I'll recommend all of you guys to check out this entrepreneurship and leadership course, which can help you to boost up your profile and to learn some skills in advance before you go to your business school. And if you will use the link in the description below, you'll get free premium trial if you are the first 1000 subscriber to click on the link. So definitely check it out and get started with your journey to prepare for your MBA in advance right now. So hi Abhishek, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Hato. Thanks for having me today. Hi, everyone. My name is Abhishek. I'm originally from India, and I recently completed my MBA from Melbourne Business School in Australia. And today, just gonna be having a quick chat with Hanu regarding the same.
Awesome. So can you please share a little bit about your background? So like at what point of time you thought कि आपको MBA करना चाहिए, you wanted to do an MBA, and which university you started your journey in India, and how was the step-by-step process from your undergrad to Australia?
Yeah. So I did my undergraduate from IIT Bombay in computer science and engineering. I always had a liking towards technology and mathematics, so I felt that computer science was a field in which there's a good mix of both, and that's why I really liked that field, and I did my bachelor's of technology from there. And post my graduation, my first job was at JP Morgan as a software engineer, and that was also a really good opportunity for me to explore my interests in finance and technology further. I worked there for close to 3 years, based in the Mumbai office. And after 3 years, I knew that I had a good grasp of technology and finance, both. But what I felt I was lacking were the management and leadership and the business acumen. So what I decided then after 3 years was that an MBA would be a good addition to my existing skill set. And that's why I decided to pursue this journey of trying to do an MBA. I had listened to a lot of my friends and seniors as well regarding good options to do an MBA from, and I always wanted to do it from a foreign university because I felt that it would give me a good exposure to a different country as well, and it would give me much wider exposure to like different types of people, different students coming from various international backgrounds. And I had shortlisted a few schools in US, UK, and Australia as well. And Melbourne Business School was indeed one of them. So upon applying, I was granted admission to Melbourne Business School, and they were also kind enough to offer me a generous scholarship. And that's why I think that was one of my main reasons why I decided to pursue my MBA from MBS.
So can you please share the list of universities you applied to and why you chose studying in Australia versus studying in the US?
Yeah, so in the US, I mostly applied to the Ivy League schools. So the 5-6 schools, which are the best ones in the US, like Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Wharton, etc. In UK, I applied to Oxford and London Business School because those two were known as really strong schools in finance, and I had a liking towards finance, so I had those two schools in mind over there. And in Australia, I think the best school was Melbourne Business School, and it is also pretty high up on the world rankings. So that was the only one I applied to in Australia. Looking at the offers which I received, the main reason why I chose MBS was because unlike the US, the MBA program in Australia was a 1-year program. So it would allow me to get back into the job market much quicker with an enhanced skill set. And having been to Australia before, I had a good understanding of the people and the culture over here. So I felt that going back there would be an easier transition than going to a newer country and applying for a new visa in the US, which at that time was a bit of a hassle and which was a bit tough to get during that time. I felt that Australia was a good option to go with that.
But I think कि when you look into international students, तो जो total हर university में जितने international students हैं, if you look into jobs for every international student openings वो ज़्यादा है US में, and on the top of that जो आपको exposure मिलता है, like the job market for business world is so big in the US. Then also why you think कि Australia is a better option? Because first of all, 1 year I think personally is not enough because आप इतने friends नहीं बना पाते. So do you think Australia is still worth it in that case?
Yeah, I think it was still worth it to me because I think one of the key differences between MBS and other schools was the size of the cohort here, and we have a class size of around 35 to 40 people, which is a very small size as compared to like US schools, which might have hundreds of people in a class. So even having like a 1 year duration with these 35, 36 people stuck in the same course and being in the school at all times with them, it helps you build really strong bonds with these people. And all of them come from different countries, different backgrounds, different work experiences, etc. So you get exposure to a whole wide variety of people and thinking and like experiences in general. Regarding the job market, what you said is true that US and India also, like, they both are much larger economies as compared to Australia, and like the job prospects and the number of jobs are indeed more as compared to Australia. But I think like the type of jobs and the major companies and the industries, they are also equally present in Australia as compared to US or India. So I felt that I wouldn't miss out on anything specifically if I were to go to Australia even and not go to the US. And I think that's what the decision paid off. And I think I've had a wonderful 1 year here in Australia.
Awesome. Now let's talk about the fees. So I have heard that scholarship opportunities in the US are much more as compared to any other country. So how much scholarship did you get for your MBA? And without scholarship, and how much is the difference? And आपको कितना खर्चा पड़ा?
So the normal tuition fees for MBA, I think, are almost equal in all the top universities, be it US or Australia or UK. In Australia, for Melbourne Business School, the fees for the 1 year program were $90,000 per year. And those were the tuition fees. And the scholarship, I think, ranges from 20-30% of the tuition fees, going all the way up to 100%. And it's awarded by the school based on your experience, your background, and the impact which you make in the interviews and the quality of your submissions which you do in the application process. So I was awarded a 50% scholarship when I did send my application to MBS, and I felt that was a generous amount, and I was actually quite happy on receiving that. So the total expenses, I think majority of the expenses are the tuition fees over here, because living expenses, I think Australia would be on a cheaper end as compared to the United States, for example. And also other general expenses, I think like transport or entertainment, etc. Those would be same regardless of where you're living in the world. So I think from a price of like from a cost of living perspective, Australia was a much efficient option as compared to the States.
Awesome. Now let's talk about how to get into an MBA school in Australia. So जैसे कि GMAT, like I think US में 720 or 700, less than 700 GMAT is not a good GMAT score. But what about for Melbourne Business School or for Australia?
So for Melbourne Business School, for my current class, the average GMAT score was 690, and I personally had a GMAT score of 730. So I did not have too much of a problem or too much of a hesitation towards applying to the school in general. But what I would say to like all the applicants is that like you're not only judged purely on your GMAT, and having a lower GMAT than that particular school's average or that particular school's cutoff will not majorly affect your application, as long as the other aspects of your application are strong enough and you do show the willingness and commitment towards doing an MBA and what impact it will have in your career in the future. So even if your GMAT score is lower than 700, say 650, 640, you should still not be discouraged from applying to any school, and you should still do your best and apply for that.
Awesome. Now, what about years of experience? Because US में Harvard हो गया, Wharton हो गया, the average years of experience international students have is 4.7 years. 4 or 5 years is average. But what about there in Australia? I think India में IIMs में 2 years hai, and I think it could be 3
years. In Australia, I think the minimum requirement was 3 years of work experience required, and the average in our class is around 6.5 to 7 years of work experience. So I was on the lower end of this because I had just completed my 3 years at JP Morgan when I decided to apply. and I was lucky enough to get in the program as well. So I think they do look for a diverse batch. So they are looking for young applicants as well, and there were applicants who had much more than 7-8 years of experience as well in the class. So looking at experience, I think the minimum which you should have under your belt is 3 years, I would say.
Awesome. Now the most important question: what about the salary and job opportunities? So by doing MBA in Australia, do you also get opportunities all over the world, including New Zealand, US? या फिर you are restricted to only New Zealand and Australia? And कितना salary? How much salary you get after MBA?
I think majority of the job opportunities which are presented are mainly based in Australia and New Zealand, because I think that is considered as a very closely knit region, and many companies operate in both these countries, and they've got offices in the major cities in both these countries. So I would say that even though there have been instances of students securing jobs all across the world after graduating from MBS, majority of the jobs would either be in Australia or in New Zealand, because they are much easier to secure, and it's much easier to relocate to a country which is just nearby. And regarding the salaries, I think post MBA, the average salary, like for the past few years, has been close to $105,000 to $110,000 per year. These are Australian dollars, and the range I think would go anywhere from 100,000 to 150,000, depending on the company, the role, your background experience, and other negotiations which happen during the salary.
Wow, that is really competitive with US, because when I think about Canada, वहाँ पे कहते हैं 70,000 is starting, 70 to 100K, and also if you think about Europe, वहाँ पे भी 70, 80, 90 ही जाता है, but Australia is very competitive. But when you think about the conversion rate, तो आप घर में ज़्यादा पैसे भेज सकते हो, because one US is 75 rupees, but one Australian dollar is 50, so that differences, but overall lifestyle में difference नहीं होगा, right?
Yeah, I think the cost of living and like the purchasing power parity wise, the lifestyle remains the same basically.
Awesome. That's so amazing. And any other tips you would like to give out to the prospective students for their MBA journey as well? Because they mainly have, their engineering experience. उनके पास project management या leadership experience इतना ज़्यादा होता नहीं है. So any tips to stand out in the process?
Yeah, I think a few tips which I would give would be clear about why you want to do an MBA, and make sure you're conveying that message across to the interviewer and to the recruitment team on the other side who gets to read these applications, because they receive a lot of applications and they have to filter through them. So make sure you stand out in one aspect of why you want to get your MBA done from that particular school. You should do some research about that school, some research about the economy, about the country as well. You should have a few names of companies in mind which you would like to pursue career at after your MBA. And also, you should not be too stressed and try to answer the questions which they ask to the point and not fluff around the question a lot. So be crisp and clear and to the point in answering any questions which they ask you.
Awesome. So perfect. So thank you so much, Abhishek, for sharing your valuable information. This video will add a lot of value to all the prospective students who want to do MBA in Australia.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm always happy to help out anyone else who needs any guidance, or who has any more questions about any MBA to be pursued in Australia. So they can always feel free to message me on LinkedIn.
Oh, awesome. Perfect.